think about those moments. You know those times when someone just stands firm against everything? You're here because you want to get into those complexities, right? Power, resistance.
Yeah.
Okay, let's really dig into this because that's exactly what we're doing today.
We've got some fascinating sources. They kind of weave together the stories of two really remarkable women.
Right.
From the same region, but different times. Begê Samur, an Yazidi woman, late 19th, early 20th century. She became this figure of reverence, almost a saint.
And the other?
And Emine Şenyaşar, a contemporary Kurdish mother who's in this ongoing, very public fight for justice.
Absolutely. And our materials, we've got historical accounts, journalistic pieces, some really thoughtful analysis. They really paint a picture, don't they?
They do, a vivid one, of their lives, their struggles, and these enduring themes. Faith, resilience, the fight for justice.
All against this backdrop of intense persecution of the Yazidi Kurdish people, both historical and, well, very much present day.
And that's the goal of this deep dive, really, to try and grasp the resistance, individual and collective, that both Begê Samur and Emine Şenyaşar embody.
What do their stories tell us?
Exactly. What do their experiences reveal about the challenges the Yazidi Kurds have faced and still face? It's striking how these personal acts of defiance kind of echo across the years.
So let's start back then. Late 19th century. Tell us about Begê Samur.
Okay. Begê Samur, an Yazidi Kurdish woman, lived 1894 to 1958.
Exactly.
In the Suruç and Viranşehir areas, part of Urfa province in what's now Turkey.
And this time period, it wasn't just any time, was it? What made it so tough for the Yazidi community then?
No, not at all. You have to understand the context. It's the declining Ottoman Empire, the early Turkish Republic.
Okay.
And this was a period of really intense state-led efforts to forcibly convert Yazidi Kurds to Islam. Yes. We're not talking about gentle persuasion. This was state terror, systemic violence. The Urfa region, where Begê lived, faced huge pressure because it had a large Yazidi population historically. Suruç, Viranşehir, key areas they targeted.
Wow. And amidst all that, Begê, she chose resistance.
She did. Her resistance is quite remarkable, actually, despite just immense pressure to convert. I mean, even her own tribe, the Dina tribe, started to assimilate. She flat out refused to abandon her Yazidi faith.
That takes incredible strength.
It really does. And a crucial point here is her personal conviction. She turned down marriage proposals from Muslim men. Why? Because it was against Yazidi tradition to marry outside the faith.
And because her tribe converted.
Exactly. Because her tribe converted, there were essentially no Yazidi men left within her community for her to marry, according to tradition. So she remained unmarried her entire life.
That level of commitment, it must have come at a cost, right?
Oh, a huge cost. She faced severe social ostracization. We're talking rejection by her own family, relatives, her whole tribe.
Just complete isolation.
Pretty much. And beyond that, constant ridicule, abuse, not just from Muslim Kurds, but also from former Yazidis who had converted.
That's harsh.
Yeah. There are stories of kids drawing circles around her for hours, trapping her. She was excluded from weddings, even denied food meant for the poor.
Yet somehow, despite all that, she didn't just endure. She became revered. How did that happen?
It's extraordinary, isn't it? Despite the suffering, her resilience, her just sheer dignity, it eventually earned her respect, even among the Muslim Kurds who'd previously harmed her.
So the perception shifted.
Completely. And here's where it gets really fascinating. She started to be seen as a saint. People began swearing oaths in her name, Begê's başı üzerim, which means by Begê's head.
Wow. That's powerful.
It's a huge testament to her steadfastness. And you could argue this elevation, this sainthood, was itself an act of cultural resistance, a symbol of Yazidi identity when it was under such threat.
The sources mention some incredibly difficult anecdotes. Can you share some? They really bring her experience to life.
They do. There's one particularly harrowing story, children stoning her. Her lips were bleeding.
Oh, my God.
And she was so thirsty, the account says she had to drink her own blood. Vultures circling over her head. It's just hard to fathom.
That level of cruelty, what drove it? And her response?
It likely came from that intense societal pressure to conform, combined with, dehumanizing anyone who resisted. But her response, that's what's stunning.
How did she react?
Reports say she would just smile at those hurting her and pray for it to stop, not lash out, just endure with grace.
Incredible inner strength.
Absolutely. And later in life, in the 50s, she actually traveled to Dina villages, trying to persuade her relatives to return to the Yazidi faith. still committed to her community, even after everything.
That's remarkable compassion.
It is. And when those efforts failed, she left the Suruç plains, took only her sleeping mat, her su, her most valuable possession, a symbol of her simple life, maybe.
And her death. That's part of the legend, too, isn't it?
Yes. In Viranşehir's Olake village, the story goes she knew the day she would die. She bathed, put on her best white dress, and just passed away in her sleep.
Peacefully in the end.
Seemingly so. And the story's continued. Local belief says lights came down from the sky onto her grave under her favorite fig tree.
Wow.
And that soil from her grave was distributed among Yazidis, seen as sacred. It really cemented her status.
When you connect this to the bigger picture, that term you mentioned.
The Disti Bindistan.
Right. The oppressed of the oppressed.
Exactly. Bijan's story really embodies that. The historical vulnerability of the Yazidi Kurds, facing pressure from multiple sides.
And the sources also talked about deliberate erasure attempts.
Yes, state-sponsored efforts, forcibly changing village names like Mishasirk, which apparently came from the Yazidi holy book, Mushafaresh, changed to Gulen. Destroying religious sites, graves.
That's systematic cultural destruction.
It is. Even reports of forcibly turning bodies and graves towards Mecca, ignoring Yazidi traditions entirely.
And that horrific slogan.
7 Yazidi killed will go to heaven. Chillingly similar to rhetoric used during the Armenian genocide. It highlights the depth of the persecution.
Is there a main source for her story?
A key one is Yaşar Batman's book, Yazidi Kurdilerin Ölümsüz Azizesi Begê. He documented her life, the legend forming, through interviews with people who knew her.
It's interesting, too, that despite her family rejecting her after converting, she still showed them compassion.
Yes, that really speaks volumes. She would apparently beg to support her brother's kids, even though he was among those who rejected her. Her human values transcended the conflict.
And her reason for not marrying. It wasn't just personal choice, it was circumstance.
Right. Her tribe converted, leaving no eligible Yazidi men within her community by tradition. It shows the personal cost of forced assimilation. And she refused powerful Muslim leaders who offered marriage if she converted. Her faith was absolute.
Such a powerful story of resistance. Now let's shift to the present, or near present. Emine Şenyaşar. Same region, different struggle, but maybe similar spirit.
Indeed. Emine Şenyaşar, a contemporary Kurdish mother, a symbol, really, of the ongoing fight for justice in that same Suruç region.
What happened? What's her story rooted in?
It goes back to a tragic incident in 2018. The context is important. It was a politically tense election period.
Okay.
An AKP parliamentarian, Ibrahim Halil Yildiz, and his relatives visited the Şenyaşar family's workplace.
And that visit didn't go well.
Reports say the father, İsmet Şenyaşar, refused to promise his vote for Yildiz, asked them to leave.
And then?
3 days later, things escalated horrifically.
The sources describe just terrible violence. Can you walk us through it?
Right. So, 3 days after that first encounter, Yildiz and his relatives came back to the Şenyaşar shop. This time, a larger group, armed.
Oh, no.
The Şenyaşars again refused to support Yildiz. A violent clash broke out. The Yildiz group allegedly opened fire with long-barreled weapons. The Şenyaşars apparently defended themselves with a shotgun.
And the results?
Tragic. Sıla Şenyaşar was killed there, at the shop. Several others were injured, Adil and İsmet Şenyaşar, and from the MP side, Mehmet Şah Yildiz and Süleyman Yildiz.
But it didn't stop there. The hospital. That part is deeply disturbing.
It really is. İsmet, the father, and Adil, the son, though injured, were taken to Suruç State Hospital. Shockingly, they were murdered, brutally killed, inside the hospital, in front of medical staff, apparently.
Inside the hospital? How?
There are serious allegations that the MP intervened, maybe had the police presence withdrawn, and claims that crucial evidence, like hospital cameras and records, was destroyed or disappeared. The MP's brother, Mehmet Şah Yildiz, also died in the hospital during all this.
The aftermath. The legal side. Sounds like more injustice followed.
Tragically, yes.
Okay.
The legal process got complicated. They split the workplace killings and the hospital murders into separate cases.
Why would they do that?
That's a major point of contention. The surviving son, Fadil Şenyaşar, was arrested right after leaving hospital, put in solitary. He eventually got sentenced to 37 years and 9 months.
That's a huge sentence. What about the other side?
In contrast, the MP's brother involved in the initial shop fight received 18 years. And crucially, there's been no real accountability, no convictions for the murders inside the hospital. That disparity fuels Emine's fight.
So facing this loss, this perceived injustice, Emine Şenyaşar took a stand, a very public one.
a powerful, peaceful stand. For 558 days, she held a sit-in protest right in front of the Urfa courthouse.
Every day.
Every day, demanding justice, accountability for her husband and 2 sons.
And that parallel to Begê being confined.
It's striking. Just like those children drew a circle around Begê, police often created a physical circle around Emine during her protest. She was arrested multiple times, mistreated when she tried to speak out beyond those imposed limits. It really highlights this pattern, doesn't it? Restricting the voices of dissent.
The connection between these women, same land, centuries apart, it's undeniable.
It really is. Both facing terrible oppression, both responding with resilience, nonviolence. There's a quote from one source, BNA.
What does it say?
It mentions an old Yazidi saying, "In our lands, women give birth to the sun." And then it suggests that Begê and successors like Mother Emine, just like they give birth to the sun, they also give birth to justice in these lands.
Give birth to justice. That's a powerful image.
It suggests this deep-rooted strength, maybe a historical role for women in pursuing justice in that community, despite everything.
Emine's own words in court were devastating, too.
Incredibly so. Her question, if what I said is slander, then who killed my husband and children? It just cuts through everything.
And directly challenges the official narrative.
Exactly. It forces confrontation with the unanswered questions. The sources also connect this to Yaşar Kemal's writings, his descriptions of past atrocities against Yazidis.
Suggesting a historical pattern.
Yeah, in Thrat Suyukan Kıyor Baksana. That resonance with the Şenyaşar tragedy suggests this isn't isolated, that there's a long history of violence and maybe impunity. And the idea comes up that the Şenyaşars became the oppressed of the oppressed in this specific political fight.
And allegations about the other family being armed afterwards.
Yes, claims the Yildiz family received numerous weapons after the incident, highlighting that power imbalance, the potential political dimension.
And that other parallel, Begê drinking her blood and the Yazidi woman in Shengal.
Yes, after the ISIS genocide. The story of the mother cutting her finger to feed her baby her own blood.
It's heartbreaking.
It really is. It connects Begê's desperate acts centuries ago to the ongoing suffering and vulnerability of the Yazidi people right up to recent atrocities. It underscores that persistent hardship.
So, reflecting on both stories, the link between Begê Samur and Emine Şenyaşar is just so clear.
Absolutely. Same land, different centuries, same spirit of unwavering resistance against injustice.
A fight to uphold dignity, beliefs, against just crushing pressure.
And for you, listening, seeking that deeper understanding. These aren't just stories from the past or news headlines. They're ongoing reflections, right? Challenges facing marginalized communities everywhere, the power of resistance.
It really makes you think. That Yazidi saying, women give birth to the sun. What does it mean when women like Begê and Emine give birth to justice in a place marked by so much oppression, past and present? What's our responsibility, those of us who witness these struggles, even from afar, across time?
It's a profound question, isn't it? About how historical injustice connects to today's human rights battles. It pushes us to think about our role, bearing witness, maybe advocating for justice.
Where can people learn more?
Well, seeking out Yaşar Batman's book on Begê Samur would be a start. And for Emine Şenyaşar, following reputable news outlets and human rights organizations, reporting on the family's ongoing fight for justice.